West Virginia obviously has a lot of big decisions to make, including Richrod. Should Richrod pull any triggers and fire anybody? Any other kind of big decisions he should be making? We're going to discuss now.
You are Locked On West Virginia, your daily podcast on the West Virginia Mountaineers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, guys? Welcome back in. My name is Mountaineer Paul. I am your host. Welcome back into Locked On West Virginia, where we're talking about the Mountaineers on the football side of things again. Before we get into basketball tomorrow, obviously, we do have a game tomorrow. For those of you who forgot, probably a lot of you haven't even gotten to there yet. I get it. It's a tough situation. Thank you guys for being here. Second, third, fourth episode today. I can't even remember. This episode is going to be brought to you by our good friends over at Game Time. Right now, guys, if you download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONCollege, you'll get $20 off your first purchase. Thanks for making Locked On West Virginia your first listen and for being a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where we talk about your team and the Mountaineers every single day. Richrod has decisions to make, obviously. I have Jack Bicknell on the thumbnail. That is not for show. That is a real question. I'm curious how some of you feel. Should West Virginia fire their offensive line coach after year one? There are things to consider, like Kevin Brown. Absolutely. That is definitely something to consider. I 100% agree with that. I don't know what you do there, especially if Kevin's invested with Bicknell, but I've always been of the mindset you never keep a coach for a player. Coaches impact literally dozens of players, right, that are going to come into your program, maybe even leave your program. And one player is just one player, regardless of how good that player is, even though this is Kevin Brown like we're talking about here. I get it totally. So it's a tough evaluation, right? But so I thought, you know what? Here's what I'll do. I had a list I made the other day of a pay them list, about 30 guys I thought you couldn't stand to go without. We're going to look at that. We're going to talk about how is Richrod going to fix it. He didn't go into detail, but I'm going to try to. Then we got a list of 10 things that he can probably look at, which is where we're going to start. So let's dive straight into it. You know, obviously, this is not how we wanted to end the year. It's a very obvious thing to say with Richrod and company, just kind of limp into the finish line here today. And I think it's an eye-opener. Somebody, who was it? It might have been Chris and Mike that did an exercise on their postcast. Yeah, it was them. They did an exercise on their postcast where they said, straight up, just take the Texas Tech team and the West Virginia team and tell me who on West Virginia's team you would take over Texas Tech's starter at that position, and then just go position by position. You can't do it, right? Like, the only one that you would consider, although I don't know now, since so many people are outraged over Cam Vaughn's loaf, I understand the outrage over the loaf. I just don't understand so many people asking for him to be kicked off the team over it. It's blowing my mind, to be honest. I feel like people get into this hive mind mentality where they love to just wolf pack and gang up on people. I mean, they love it too, and they almost always never have a header. They almost never have a name. It's almost always a burner account. But at the end of the day, I do believe Cam Vaughn is one of the players on this team that would have stood a chance to maybe replace one of the top three receivers for Texas Tech. Outside of him, none. On defense, Fred Perry. Outside of that, maybe Michael Coates is in the rotation. And then you're kind of like, I don't know, beyond that. So there's not a lot of it kind of lets you realize how big the gap is between us and them, which makes sense. They spent a lot more money than we did. So I think, pretty obviously Richrod's going to have to make a comprehensive team evaluation and overhaul the roster, right? I mean, you're going to conduct a full review of every single player. You're going to have to identify strengths and weaknesses. and have really hard conversations to retain whichever talent you feel like you need to retain. You need to work on that immediately. You can't keep nobody. Like I said, I have identified personally about 30 guys I think West Virginia should go into next year with. Hopefully they can keep that many in all seriousness, because it could be worse. And I don't want that to happen. We can't have this same situation again. So you're going to want to assess and potentially restructure some coaching staff as well, right? Assistants, obviously offensive assistants, defensive assistants, everywhere around you're going to look at all that, right? And then make the changes if you think that you need to be changed. You know whether they were working or not based on everyday operations. So whether that's potentially firing or reassigning a coach into a different spot, like he was really getting on to the special teams coordinator today. Number 3, obviously, you still need to continue to boost NIL resources and revenue sharing. Obviously, if you're going to leverage an improvised financial positioning past post-2025 to enhance NIL deals and revenue sharing models, you want to attract top transfers and recruits while retaining stars in this pay-for-play era, which obviously makes sense. You want to be aggressive in recruiting. I took this from Richrod's post game. He said we've got to recruit at a high level, and then they have to be aggressive at it, right? And that includes portal utilization as well. You got to capitalize on coaching changes. You've got to capitalize on, all these new coaching changes out there. There are a lot of good players that are going to be available. A lot of them will follow their old coach, but there will be stragglers, and you need to be able to land some of those. So whether that's flipping them, getting them to commit just naturally, portal players, prioritizing concerns and positions like offensive line, running back, etc., so you can address talent shortages and build some momentum. You want to fix the stagnant offense and execution issues, obviously. I think the scheme is something you need to look at. Do you need to revamp it for better efficiency? Do you need to focus on clock management, whatever, route running, whatever you need to, obviously the O-line needs revamped. Play calling may need revamped too. I mean, you need to look at yourself, right? See if there's any inconsistencies. You need to address the ground game specifically in this offense. You have to improve the run blocking and the backfield depth. Just the way it is, whether you got to cross-train players that come in or whatever, but we just didn't have it this year. We just didn't have it this year because we lost so many players. Or, obviously just get better offensive linemen to where your running backs are going to be productive no matter what. There's a couple ways you can go about it. But after a season where our rushing attack just totally underperformed, despite Richrod's immense history with it, by the way, having strong ground games, tells you a lot. And so the next step is you're going to have to build physicality and conditioning, which they already do the conditioning part. But the bigger and faster part, or the bigger and stronger part, bigger, faster, stronger, but the conditioning part's already in there. So you do have to get that. It's easier said than done. We have started to make some strides there. Obviously we need to improve our injury management and depth. We need to have better players to replace our players. If we can somehow make that happen. A lot of our starters should have been backups, right? In a normal year, probably would have been, but this year they weren't. That's got to improve. In order to rebuild the team culture, I think it's going to need it after today. Probably took a bit of a hit going into next year. You got to shy away from the doom and gloom somehow and quit tendencies that are fostering any kind of resilience towards your weekly improvement, because I've seen flashes of that in 2025 and not in a good way, obviously. So how do you create a more cohesive, motivated unit? Richrod knows all that. And then you have to develop a young quarterback and continue to bring Scotty Fox along. You have to accelerate your growth for freshmen, standouts, so they can play immediately in order to be good next year through targeted coaching, building confidence, whatever you got to do. But that's kind of my list of things that I think kind of where you start if you're Richrod. It's year one, so I think any wholesale changes are probably not the way to go, except for maybe the O line. And the only reason I say that is I don't think Bicknell was the first choice, and I don't think he was the second choice. I think Richrod was comfortable with him, and had we had better players, probably would have had a better O line this year. But I do think the O line is the one change you need to probably make. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Richrod knows better, and we'll have better players next year. What bothers me the most about Bicknell, probably over everything, is that he has only had one or two out of like 30 winning seasons in his career as a coach. Winning is contagious, and the expectation to win is also a thing. I just don't get a good feeling. I don't. There's something about the situation. I told you guys about, the article about him. Let's see. Okay, so there's an article out there from Johnny or Malecki, who called Jack Bicknell toxic. He said the offensive line room for the Steelers was another turmoil, and he stated that this dude sucked. His comments were made during an appearance in May of 2025, where he said the challenges the team faced under Bicknell during the 2013 season. He said we really couldn't get the room together, and it was his fault. He says that should have been a Super Bowl contending team because the Killer Bees were there during that era. He said this is when they had Pouncey, who was a Hall of Fame center. They had really good offensive linemen, and he said they just couldn't figure it out with Bicknell. And I just wonder, guys. Is this potentially the same scenario happening again? I found the article, at least the front page to it. I'll show it to you guys really quick. For those of you listening on audio, I'll read it out loud to you. This is an article written about Jack Bicknell. The headline is literally, "This dude sucked. Former Steelers offensive lineman talks utter turmoil former coach Jack Bicknell brought to Pittsburgh." Mike Munchak, one of the greatest offensive line coaches of all time, was the offensive line coach from 14 to 18, consistently having his unit as one of the best in the NFL. However, there were some rough years for the offensive line before they hired Munchak. Jack Bicknell Jr. was Pittsburgh's offensive line coach before 2013. And Steelers offensive lineman Johnny Malecki recently spoke about just how bad he was in his role. That offensive line coach left, like he said during a YouTube channel interview. It's like any job. There's a lot of politics and a lot of people and a lot of relationship stuff. And he's talking about Munchak. He went to bat for me, really liked me, the way I played, knew the playbook inside and out. They brought in another guy. And for that season, it was complete and utter turmoil, talking about Bicknell. He said, this dude sucked. This is like the Killer Bees era. They should have been Super Bowl contenders, and they were just screwing things up on the back end for a Super Bowl, super hard in my opinion. But they brought in this coach who really couldn't get the room together. So they went above him and started bringing in guys to try to fill some gaps. That's how the article begins about Jack Bicknell, our offensive line coach. Let's go to break. We'll talk about it on the other side. This episode of Locked On West Virginia going to be brought to you by our friends at Wayfair. With Wayfair, it's pretty simple. The holiday season is right around the corner, and that means it's time to get your home ready. Whether you need more seating for guests, cozy new linens, or fun serveware for holiday hosting, Wayfair's Black Friday sale is here to make your space shine. And the best part is, you don't have to wait. Wayfair's Black Friday deals are happening all month long with 70% off for everything sofas to spatulas. Couldn't believe how fast everything shipped and just in time for the holidays. Don't miss out on early Black Friday deals. Head to wayfair.com now to shop Wayfair's Black Friday sale up to 70% off. That's WAYFAIR and the sale ends on December 7th. All right, so here we are, guys. We're back. And so for those of you that didn't see it, I'll put it up for another second. An article written about Jack Bicknell back in May, talking about how bad he was as the Steelers' offensive line coach. Now, so I think it's this article coupled with the fact that he's only had one or two winning seasons in his career. Just gives me a bad gut feeling about him as an O-line coach. It really does. Even Richrod and company had a lot of success at Ole Miss in 2019, I believe it was, with him as the O-line coach. They had a lot of yards, but, they didn't win still. It's not all Bicknell's fault, but he's certainly one of the big problems, and I think we should make a change, guys. I do, but if he comes back, we'll have to own it and live with it, right? I mean, maybe I'm wrong, and I would love to be wrong. So here's the list of players that I have that I kind of talked a little bit about the other day. This is like the pay 'em list. This is the list of players that if you're going to bring these guys back next year, these are the guys I think you should pay. By the way, if you didn't listen to Coach Rod's post-game press conference, it certainly sounds like there are going to be some major changes. I don't know if he was alluding to Bicknell or not, but there is a lot to really consider here. So, obviously, you start with Scotty Fox Jr. at quarterback. I think he's a guy you got to pay, right? I mean, you at least need to try to bring him back. God forbid you lose him, and then you can't bring anybody in. You got the trio of Jaheim White, Ty Edwards, and Dior Hubbard. In my opinion, those three guys are three guys you should try to bring back at running back, along with anybody you sign, especially Ty Edwards if you can get him. He had the one injury. Jaheim White is hopefully he's not damaged goods at this point. I mean, he's still got a chance to be really good in this offense. Cam Vaughn, call me crazy, but I want him back. Rodney Gallagher, Christian Hamilton, Cyrus Trawl. I think the receivers that I would be really good with bringing back along. By the way, this doesn't include freshmen. This doesn't include most freshmen. There's a couple freshmen on this list, but they played a lot this year. So if there's any true freshmen that just didn't play, I didn't put them on the list just because I couldn't evaluate them, right? Like there was no way for me to know what they saw in practice about Wilness and Telemac or, name another guy that was a true freshman that didn't play. I mean, so, obviously, so the number of players we're bringing back will be more than this, probably another 20 or 30. And then you'll have to bring in, around 50 guys, which is what Richrod plans to do when you look at the totality of it. Let's say you bring back these 30, you bring back another 10 or 15 of the freshmen you had this past year. That's around 45. If you want to get to 100, 105, whatever the number is there, that would be a signing class from high school and junior college of about 40 guys. And then you obviously need to get about 10 to 12 really good portal guys. And if we can do that, I have a very high confidence that all the portal guys we bring in are going to be very high dollar guys, right? Because you're talking about some big money on them. So that would be, I'm assuming, 3 really good offensive linemen, a quarterback. How would those numbers work anyway? Let me write this down as we go. So it would be, so let's say he's going to do 12. So that would be at least 3 really good O-linemen, really good. I'm writing good offensive lineman, 1 really good quarterback. So that's 4. You got 8 left. You're going to have to get, I don't know how we're going to work this out, to be honest, we lose everybody on defense, right? I mean, You're going to have to bring in with Cam Vaughn. I mean, if you don't keep Cam, and obviously this goes up the more people that go out the door. But I would say with Jaden Bray, Cam Vaughn, you want to bring in one really good receiver or tight end maybe, or both. Let's see how it works with both. Wide receiver, one good tight end. So now you're at 3, 4, 5, 6. You got 6 more. Let's say you don't bring in any running backs. You just take the freshmen, the JUCO guys you brought in. I think you can work with what you got with Ty Edwards, Jaheim White, as long as they stay. The guys you brought in through JUCO, and if Latimer comes, it's over. Give me him. If you can get Latimer, and I'm telling you, I'd throw the bank at him because he'd be my day one starting running back next year. That's how much I like him. For those of you that hasn't watched his tape yet, I'll play the clip in a minute. So that's 6, and then you got to put the other 6 on the other side of the ball, and I think you got to get 3 really elite pass rushers, and then you have to get 3 really good defensive backs, corners and safeties. I think you can do that. You got a chance, but that means no linebackers. Yeah, the number is not going to be exactly 12, I don't think. You're going to have to go up to 15, Rich, if you really want to fill all the holes, in my opinion. I think they need to somehow get to 15 if they can. If they can get to 15, which would take a lot, it's going to take a lot, and it's probably the thing is, it's just probably going to be a 3-year build, right? That's the problem really that you're running into, because you lose every single senior on defense. So I don't know. Guys. I don't know what you want me to do with it. All right. So let's play the tape here of the running back I was just telling you about, so I can give you an idea of what I'm talking about as the opening day starter. Love this play by him. This is Latimer. He's supposed to have been on campus today. This is a replay. Love the forearm and the speed to break away, obviously. Love this play, too. Watch the flipper. Boom, get down. This guy is perfect for Richrod's room, obviously. I just think this is your day one, or maybe he would need a little time, but I think this is a guy you bring in. He could possibly start right away for you. That's who I would be betting on, hoping for. Things never go that way. I mean, he's got a lot of people coming after him, obviously, here, but he's my guy, man. I'm a big Latimer guy. We'll see where it works for him. There's a lot of different things we can discuss within that as well, like the numbers and some of these players. I'll go into the break and we'll come back out and I'll tell you the rest of the players I have on the list. And we're talking about our friends over at Game Time tonight, guys, with pretty simple stuff from them. Obviously, we love talking about college football. College football is back right now, and I couldn't be more excited. The tailgates, the rivalries, the energy in the stands, there's nothing quite like it. But let's be real. Actually getting tickets can feel a lot more like the game than the battle itself. Endless queues, hidden fees, and prices jumping at checkout. That's why I use Game Time, the app that gives the advantage back to the fans. It's the easiest way to score last-minute tickets at the best prices with no surprise fees at checkout. What you see, what you pay. Pulled up Game Time, and in just a couple taps, I saw amazing deals. Talking about your favorite college football games for as low as $25. Take the guesswork out of buying college football tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create that account, and use the code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase where the terms apply. That's code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off today. That way you too can swipe, tap, ticket, go download Game Time today, and you can answer yourself the question of all questions. What time is it? It's game time. Segment 3, a Dr. P. That's right. I waited. All right. Back to the list of players really quick before we jump out of here. I think I left off on the running backs, wide receivers, maybe. Yeah, some receivers. At tight end, obviously, I think it's pretty simple with that room. I mean, there's a few guys in the room, but I don't know. There's a couple guys in there. I mostly, there's one guy I think you just have to have back, and then there's a couple other guys you could look at. I'm going to go Ryan Ward. Obviously, I think he's got potential still. Just my opinion. Then offensive line wise, I've got 6 guys, I think. Malik Agbo, Landon Livingston, Donovan Haslam, Nick Cray, Josh Isosa, and Robbie Martin. And I'm sure they know which guys would be best for what there. Defensive line, Sonny Redwood, Corey McIntyre, and I could always be missing a guy here and there. Marshawn Oxley on the edge, although I didn't see him today. Ben Bogle played well today at times. Ashton Woods is, I think, the future linebacker, and if you can get him back, that's a huge win because he's a fast, athletic kid that I really think Zach Alley could use next year. Safety, Israel Boyce, Nick Taylor, who had a bad play today, but still think he could help. And then the impact freshman. I did add a couple at the end here. Tyshawn Dews, Carmarius Bomar, who we saw today. Chris Filippo, who had a rough day today. I'm not going to lie. Julian Horton, Cam Torber, Michael Hasty, Wilnerson, Telemac, Brandon Caesar. I think these are the guys that you need to at least keep or talk about keeping. As I think, you just can't go with a bare cupboard again next year. Khalil Wilkins, yeah, I mean, if you want to, maybe bring back, certainly it's worth the conversation. And I don't know, it's hard because we're not around these guys every day, right? That's my opinion, so I don't know the mindsets of a lot of these guys. I don't know. I'm not around Cam Vaughn every day to judge whether or not he has that it factor or not. You see you see him one day a week on TV, and that's it. Same thing with a lot of other players. So I would hesitate to make a final decision on any of these guys. But I mean, if we're just shooting, chopping it up, I think these are the names that I would look at first, just off of what they did on the field. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this one. Give us a lot of things to think about for sure. And Richrod's got his work cut out for him, guys. Obviously, Jack Bicknell, we spoke about. I'm curious to know what will happen with the situation, but we'll find out soon enough. Times are coming up on us fast. Time in the portal are waiting on no one, and we're going to be right in the middle of it here in the next couple weeks. So we'll see what happens then. Like the video, subscribe if you're new, and we'll see you on the next one, guys, right here on Locked On West Virginia. Make sure you check out Locked On Big 12 next, by the way, as Drake Toll continues to kill it over there. He talks about the best conference in the country. We love the Big 12. Proud to be from the Big 12. We'll talk about the next time. Q Country Roads.